Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Today we have John Evans, candidate for Clark County Recorder. But before we get to Mr. Evans, Jim, you have any?
I don't really have any rants. I just got something that I think is pretty wishful thinking. I wouldn't say funny or ironic, but all these, I keep getting all these news flashes on my phone the last couple of days, debating on how much the water level at Lake Mead has changed because of this rain that we've gotten. And I'm like, okay, guys. So we've gotten 3 decent days of rain in the past 5 years, and somehow that's going to fill up Lake Mead. I just find it kind of ironic.
It's not even a thunderstorm.
I know.
Just drizzles.
And, I mean, yeah, obviously happy to have the rain, but I just think it's ironic that now we got people thinking that Lake Mead is going to go up because of that little bit of rain. And then now I'm getting brochures at my house about what the water district plans to do about the water shortage. Nothing that they haven't been doing already. So still trying to get a hold of it. Yeah, they just keep they keep sending me to their PR guy.
Oh, you need to go down there, Jim Jones.
I live close by.
You need to go knock on the door.
Because it's just like, okay, we've already cut watering restrictions. Now they're saying the federal government is going to demand that all 6 states, well, there's 5 states and Mexico, all pull water from the Colorado. So they're going to start demanding that these states cut back on their water usage. And somehow that's going to fix the problem. And the ironic part about it is, did you realize, I didn't know this, but Nevada, we're not even using our allotment from the Colorado River.
California's using it all.
Yeah, and California just recently, like last month, is the first time LA County has put water restrictions in place ever.
I think California is trying to take over Nevada, just like Mexico is going to take over Texas.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's something going on, and the only reason, honestly, now this I did learn. So, our friend Tick Segerblum, who's also a part of the Friends for the Colorado River. I'm being facetious now.
You said friend, you lost me.
So anyway, he keeps trying to say this stuff to Southern Nevadans to try to, I guess, calm people down about the water shortage. But his whole thing is, once Lake Mead goes dead pool, then they're going to release Lake Powell to fill up Lake Mead. Well, I talked to somebody who does work in the water district that I do trust, but did not want me to name his name.
Right.
He's an engineer, though. He said that they can't do that because the dam at Lake Powell, the power that's produced from there is actually power that it keeps the batteries charged. That are the backup batteries for the entire Western electrical grid. So they can't do anything with Lake Powell. They have to leave Lake Powell the way it is for national security reasons. So the NSA will not ever allow them to release Lake Powell. So when Friends of the Colorado River try to tell you they're going to release Lake Powell before they do anything with Lake Mead, they're lying to you.
What about all those bodies they've been finding there? And there's a lot more than that.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary. Here's the thing is I never thought I would see the day where people have been joking about that for years. Like even when I first moved here in 86, 87, when I was just 10, 11 years old, they would say, yeah, I know, Vegas used to be run by the mob. And I bet you there's a lot of bodies in Lake Mead. Now all of a sudden I'm actually seeing that come to fruition.
People make fun about stuff that's really serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes it funny, the fact that there's an element of truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. Yeah, because you're right on that. Because like you might mention something the other day about an individual that we know about, he's joking, but in a serious way. He's trying to pretend like he's joking, but he's actually serious.
Yeah. You done?
Yeah. That was, like I said, I didn't have a rant. I just thought it was interesting that people think that 3 days of decent rain is going to fill up Lake Mead.
Well, I'm still waiting for the president or CEO of Las Vegas Valley Work.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll keep working on it. I said, I'm not Steve Sands, man. I don't have your kind of pull. I'm not on My Vegas magazine. Of course, I don't do the work. But to be fair, I'm not teasing Steve. That's recognition, Steve, because I might be able to do that if I put the work this man does in. So that's a compliment to you. I'm not being sarcastic by any stretch.
Thank you, Mark Schaefer, the owner of My Vegas magazine. Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm amazing.
Tell us about you.
Lived in Las Vegas since 2004, retired out of the mortgage banking industry. Never thought I would be involved in politics in the sense of running for office. Mm-hmm. Always had pretty strong political opinions.
Yeah.
And yet here I am off the golf course to take a shot at being county recorder.
Why?
Because there's some things that are not right that need to be changed and fixed. And I've got the background experience to do that. We're one of the only counties in the United States where you can go online on the recorder's office and you cannot physically see documents related to your property, to your home. State law, not only here, but in most states around the country, the recorder's only job is to basically be a gigantic filing cabinet for public documents. And the law says to make them available, secure, and accessible to the public for free. Mm-hmm. I have an attitude that government exists to serve us, not the other way around. And in Clark County, their defense would be, oh, they're accessible to the public for free. You can physically get in your car, drive down to the county recorder's office at the government services building or the county government building, park and come inside and wait in line, use one of the 2 computer terminals that we have for, records research and look at the documents on your house. But this is 2022. I can find anything I want online except for my Clark County property or real estate records or publicly recorded documents. I have to put them into a checkout cart and physically pay for them so that for a certified copy of an original, then wait 2 or 3 days to go pick it up or to have it mailed to me before I can even look at it and see if that document's what it's labeled as and if it's the document I need. That just, for me, that's not government that serves us. That bothers me. Friends were after me for several years to run for this specific office. And then the final leverage that they got on me was, John, you've always believed and said this. You can't say that anymore if you're not willing to do something about it and you have the ability to fix it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got here.
How long you been here?
Since 2004.
So you've heard of Fran Dean?
I'm familiar with her.
The former county recorder?
Yeah, wasn't that back in like 2000, 2004, somewhere in that now. No, it had to be before 2006.
Yeah, who was taking money from developers and a teddy bear.
That's what I've read and heard.
Yeah, so feeding them information before it was made available to the public so they could get a bid on there ahead of the public.
I never understood exactly what was going on with that, but is that what was going on?
That's what was going on.
Feeding people information before it was
public,
before the recording was completed.
Right.
Because there's always...
In a teddy bear. Money was stuffed in a teddy bear.
Yeah, why?
And she never went to prison for it.
Why didn't she just take it in manila envelopes like every other crooked politician?
I always wonder why she never did time for that.
In a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I don't know.
So as a recorder, I mean, running for the seat of recorder, what do you think about that?
You shouldn't use, no politician in any position in government should use their information. This is just like say, senators and congressmen doing inside trading in the stock. They do it all the time. No politician or person of influence.
Well, let me stop you right there. You brought up inside trading.
Okay.
And you got judges ruling on inside trading when they got stocks in that particular company. So the whole system is screwed up, don't you think?
Well, criminals are going to do criminal things. People who are corrupt are going to be corrupt. It's human nature. And we can pass more and more and more laws. That doesn't fix human nature. And that's way far removed from the recorder's office. So to take that back to what you asked me, a solution is for the recorder's office to be up to date on documents in today recorded. I'll give you an example. San Diego County, similar in size to Clark County. Their recorders and staff do not go home for the day until every document is recorded and then indexed properly and has had a second set of eyes to do what they call auditing, or some of us might call verifying, actually look at it a second time and make sure nobody fat-fingered it or made a mistake or mislabeled something.
Fat-fingered it?
Well, that's what I call it, because my fingers are too big to type on the phone, and autocorrect embarrasses me too. But so in a county similar in size to ours that actually has a smaller staff than our recorder's office, they don't go home for the day until things are there and indexed. Everything that came in that day is done and in the system. That eliminates the possibility for your recorder or anybody in the office to give advance information to a document preparation company or an investor who's trying to research property records and get out in front of a potential foreclosure that's coming months or weeks down the road, or that kind of thing. If the biggest solution to deal with that is obviously fix human nature. Well, I don't know if any of us has the ability to do that, but government that does what it's supposed to do and is current and up to date. Why can't we be in that position, let's say San Diego County, or similar in size and recording activity to, say, New York City? And we run behind, it takes us days longer than it does them to get the documents recorded and publicly accessible and available.
Is that required by California state law? Is there something different in the state law that dictates that?
It's how the office holder interprets the state law. The state law.
The reason why I'm asking is
available and accessible to the public for free, and then it mentions secure. So if you're
so secure would obviously be if it's came into the office, then it needs to be recorded by the end of the day that it comes in. Because
I would think so.
Right, because
and that's a big standard considering where we are now, but that would certainly be a goal if I'm elected.
Okay, because that would prevent a lot of, hey, this came into my office, just wanted to give you a heads up, haven't recorded it yet.
Well, you can't have then a person if you're current and up to date, a person in the recorder's office, whether it's the recorder or anyone, then doesn't have the ability to go to someone externally who stands to profit for having information ahead of other people.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't honestly. I didn't know that wasn't already in place to where it had to be done. Because it's like anything else, like for accounting purposes, when I was an inventory clerk, I had to do that. I had to do it end of the day to make sure that I had everything processed by the end of the day.
And I want to be fair, and in their defense, there's millions of documents. I mean, there's a lot of real estate activity in our valley. And it's easy to say all the real estate transactions, almost, well, all of them in this day and age, come in electronically. So the title companies are entering that. But they're humans and people. You still got to have someone in the recorder's office look at, and when I say the documents come in, you understand what we're talking about. It's scanned an image, so it's a picture of a piece of paper. And that's indexed in an electronic filing cabinet with a label for what it is. Somebody needs to look at that and audit that and make certain that this real estate sale or this lien or whatever the document was matches the right parcel number.
Yeah.
If you're one number off, then there's a lien against your house instead of mine.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have a timely auditing and verifying that that's correct. And you got to be current on that. If you're behind on that, and in my opinion, that's why the documents aren't viewable online, because we're behind on that. So someone purchases the documents, well, then they've got 2 or 3 days. We'll go catch that up and make sure they're right.
Okay.
That's a theory. The only other theory is why you wouldn't have them available instantly online so you could go see the documents relative to your home. The only other reason would be because the county wants to make extra money by making you purchase a certified copy of an original instead of just letting you see your document printed out on your own. You may not need a certified copy of it.
What are the laws surrounding people recording liens against other people's property?
The law says you have to have proof that you have a lien. And obviously, you're going to file a lien with the court. You've got to get a lien issued by a court or a judge before you could record that against someone's property.
My understanding is that from the current recorder, is that anybody could put a lien against anybody's property because it's the law. They can't do anything about it. They have to record it. Regardless. Whether it's legitimate or not, I don't have to prove that you owe me money. I could just go file a lien against your property. And then when it's time for you to sell, if you don't have a homestead, then that's when they deal with it. Why is that? Why does it wait that long?
If you're selling, then you'd have to pay that lien as part of the...
Even if it's an illegitimate lien, it's a fraudulent lien.
Yeah, unless you deal with it and prove that it's there. So related to what you're saying, sure, anybody can file, like a landscaper could file a lien against your property and they've never done work. All right? You're going to be notified of that. Legally, it's required that you're notified of that. You should have the opportunity to go out and challenge that now.
How do they notify you? Because I've heard people that have liens against their property and they didn't know anything about it until it was time for them to sell their house. Nobody notified them.
They missed it that it came in the mail.
I'm talking several people, not just one person. It's not an isolated
That's
incident.
going to be what they say. I can't tell you that they're always filed correctly. Mm-hmm. But I can't, for instance, I can't just run down to the recorder's office and give them a piece of paper that says you owe me money and here's the lien on that. I've got to get...
Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Because I used to do collection law.
Okay.
Okay. And this was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. That was my job.
Right.
And I filed liens against people's homes all the time. Not once was I ever questioned.
Wow.
So I did it. This is me doing it. I did it myself. Not once was I ever questioned. Now, why is that?
That's scary to me. I mean, the law in Nevada says the recorder has a responsibility to record what's given to them. That's what they do.
Regardless if it's legitimate or not.
The same law, the same statute says unless the recorder has reason to believe that it's invalid or not, it's not the signature of the person who's named on it or that type of thing, in which case they have, and the quote is, 2 judicial days to investigate that and either record it or notify the person who's requesting that it be recorded that they're not going to record it for whatever reason, or that there's an issue or a challenge with it. If in those two judicial days they discover that there's some type of a legal issue, that it would be criminal activity, then they can reset that clock by giving it to the prosecutor's staff.
But as a recorder, what could you do to tighten the laws? Because as it is right now, anybody could file anything against anybody's property.
Correct.
Without being questioned, right? And the recorder is not notifying the property owner, telling them that there's a lien on their property.
What
could you do about that? Because that all by itself is a problem. And the reason why I know, because I was in it.
It is a problem. So what I would do differently than what they do now is a while back, Clark County Recorder started what they call a recording notification service. The recording notification service is if you opt in, they will notify you by email when there is any recording activity on a parcel of land or property that you own. It says on their website, this is a courtesy, and they do not guarantee that you'll be notified in every instance. I would not make that an opt-in. Just do it. Why should I have to tell you to tell me that someone's filed a lien on my property? Why wouldn't you notify me automatically? I would prefer to do that by postcard to the actual homeowner at their address, because email addresses change, because people have, how many email addresses do you have, Steve?
15.
Okay, you got 15 email addresses. How many of them get 20 or 30 pieces of junk mail every day?
All of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
and you get
talking to me.
and you go through, like on my phone, I go through delete. On my email for county recorder site, I get 20 emails a day from people in foreign countries wanting me to give them my banking information because they have some dead uncle or nephew or relative who wants to give me $1 million for my campaign.
Is that from Nigeria?
Yeah, not only from Nigeria, from a dozen countries. And I've got someone whose name is Cryto, Cryto Pineda, P-N-I-A-N-A. They email me 30 times a day, literally. I'm not exaggerating, about do this to make lots of money and you can use it for your campaign. So there's all that junk mail out there. An email notification service where you have to opt in, I don't see that as being helpful. And you go, I know the instant attack is going to be, a postcard every time there's a lien filed. That would cost money and take effort. And I get it. But as a recorder, we already take your tax dollars. We charge you recording fees for the documents. We charge you to give you a certified copy of an original document. Don't we owe it to you to let you know somebody filed a collection lien against your house? That just seems like very minimal, basic level government service.
Could you explain Homestead and putting your home in a trust to protect you from forcing you to sell your home because of a lien?
Okay.
Can you explain that?
A trust is going to be similar in protection to having your home in an LLC. That will go a long way for protecting you from liens. I say ambulance chaser liens, or you're in a car wreck and somebody gets a judgment against you, or a medical bill. God forbid you get sick and you have exorbitant medical bills. They cannot force the sale of your home if you have a Homestead Act protection on that. It has to be your primary residence. I see a lot of trusts filing a Homestead Act as well. It's, in my opinion, worthless. And I've seen one where they paid attorneys several $100s. A trust, by very definition, is a group, not an individual. Well, a trust can't have a primary residence because it's not a residence. It's an organization. It's not an individual that has a residence. And it's an organization with an office or a mailing address for the trust. A Homestead Act declaration would be that for an individual. It protects the first $650,000 worth of equity in your home. So you have a home that's worth $500 and you owe $120, and you've got a judgment out there for a medical bill or a car accident, or somebody slipped and fell on your home and they've maxed out your homeowner's insurance. They want to come after your home and force the sale of your home for the difference. They can't do it if you have a Homestead Act protection. They can still collect their money if you legitimately owe them when and if you sell the home.
What happens if you have both?
If you have both what?
Homestead and the trust.
If you have both a homestead and a trust, a good lawyer is going to get around one of those, because if you're a trust, it cannot be your homestead. You should have one or the other. You're still going to be protected there. If that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
A trust can't. So a trust, by very definition, is not an individual. Okay? Well, a trust, because it's not an individual, can't say, this is my homestead. A homestead is reserved for an individual. If that makes any sense. Okay, so it should be one or the other to protect your interest there. Neither of them will protect you from a mortgage. Neither of them will protect you from a tax lien, which is a big issue. I want you to ask me about that in a minute.
What's a tax lien?
A tax lien?
I'm messing with you.
You know what a tax lien is?
Oh, keep going what you were saying
okay.
before. Okay.
So a trust or a homestead,
right.
If you hold your title to your home in trust, and there's some reasons that people might choose to do that, or if you live in your home as your primary residence and it's you and your spouse, or you and your family member, or you and a significant other, or another person you want on the title to your home, then you can both declare that as your homestead, and it's protected from liens, with the exception of tax liens, IRS judgments, or HOA liens, but not. It protects you from all HOA liens except an HOA lien that was related to a public health or safety issue. Those, they can get around your Homestead Act or your trust protection. You ask, what's a tax lien? Clark County Commission, that's a whole different issue. There's a push on, they've tried in the past, and say they're working on a BDR, which is a bill draft resolution, to get a
bill draft request.
Yeah, to get. I said resolution request. They want to get it in front of the state legislature so that county fines can be added to your tax bill. So if you have a fine because you violated the noise ordinance, or watered on the wrong day, or broke some little technicality in the short-term rental law, that they can add that to your tax bill, which then makes it a tax lien, and they can foreclose on your property and force the sale.
But don't those two things are separate from each other?
I absolutely agree with you. A fine is not a tax lien.
Exactly.
They want to change the state law to make it so they can make it that way.
Who's they?
Justin Jones on the Clark County Commission, for number one. Mm-hmm. 13 states already allow that. They want to make Nevada the 14th. In those 13 states, they routinely take properties, and from the Washington Post, 7 out of 8 of the properties that are taken are in low to moderate income census tracts. So they put a fine for something wrong with somebody's property.
Sounds like eminent domain, doesn't it?
Yeah, they violated a minor code ordinance. There's an example of a guy in Washington had a $134 fine. He kept paying his taxes. I'm not paying that fine. I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. They added it to his tax bill, foreclosed on his property for a $134 fine, sold his house for $197,000, kept all of the money, even though he only owed $134. They didn't give him the rest. It's been in court, and the appellate courts in their state have upheld it. Hopefully that'll end up eventually. There's a property.
Sounds like thievery.
Well, I tend to believe that just about all taxation is theft, but that's a whole nother discussion.
I think taxes and fines are two separate entities.
It's hugely separate things. And there's no question, as a recorder, if that law passes, I'll be forced to either be in trouble for not doing my job, which is probably where that would go, but I'll fight vehemently not to record a fine as a tax lien. They're not the same.
You know, that's very interesting that you bring that up, because I'm surprised that those 13 states were able to do that. Because the reason why I'm going to bring it, I'll make it real quick, Steve, I promise. is because directly to what you said, the difference between a tax and a fine should be separate, because that's actually the justification that Chief Justice Roberts used to call the Affordable Care Act constitutional, because he said, no, they're not fining you for not having insurance. They're taxing you for not having insurance. And as long as it's a tax, then it's constitutional. But if it's a fine, it's not.
That's why I said I'm in hopes that this will eventually make its way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, because I think there's already precedent
in
for
those
it.
states.
Yeah. Okay.
People have pushed to appellate courts in the various states, but they've not gotten to federal courts or the Supreme Court yet. And they should.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
that's got to be changed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Washington case will go to the Ninth Circuit.
You drain your pool without a permit, or you're making some improvement in your home. And in poorer neighborhoods, poorer people tend to do their own home repairs more than in wealthy neighborhoods. So they get a fine for not having a permit for something they didn't realize. And now that fine is added to their tax bill and they end up losing their home over there.
Right. The rich get richer and the poor gets poorer.
It's ridiculous. And the politicians who favor that pander to poor people and say, oh, we're on your side. We want to help you. We want to help you. Yeah. And then they pass rules and regulations and laws that are just the opposite. Yeah. And again, Recorder's Office doesn't pass any laws, but certainly feel like in this instance,
you guys do lobby for different laws.
That's an opportunity to make some noise and say, no, this is wrong. We can't do that. Okay. Certainly.
Mr. Evans, is there anything else you want to mention that we have not?
Probably, but now my mind's spinning with the things we talked about, because some of that's a little bit passionate. Obviously, I want people to ask me questions and be interested. I'll tell you what I want to mention that we haven't. We go to the polls and vote, and we always pay attention to the big races: Senate, Congress, governor, all of those kind of things. And
don't say we.
Okay, we. Well, and when I say we, I mean collectively. Like in recent elections, there's been 30 to 40% drop off when you get past the statewide races and the congressional races down to these county-wide offices. Mm-hmm. And that's why we keep electing the same people who've been in office 12, 16, longer years, and we keep getting the same poor government. And I challenge people, learn about these down ballot offices like Recorder that you don't know what they do or what they don't do and who's in. Learn about those and get some information, research the candidates, and I'm going to give people a challenge. Start at the bottom of the ballot and work your way up. Because I know what happens. You get in there and you get tired. Oh, man, I'm exhausted with this.
I'm exhausted.
Just pick a name. No, start at the bottom with a list of names and check off your list.
If going to a voting booth exhausts somebody, they shouldn't even go at all.
Well, I agree. But you know how it is. You get mentally exhausted because you've been standing in line and all of it. You know how it goes. But yeah,
well, you only do it once every 2 years?
Well, I agree. But these small, my point is, these small local offices are important, and there's no reason that we should have way more voter turnout at the top of the ballot than we do at the bottom.
True.
And the fact that you don't know about those races and those people is not an excuse. Take the opportunity to view podcasts and shows like this. Take the opportunity to ask friends and do your research. Be informed if you're going to vote. Know who you're voting for, or stop complaining about what you're getting.
But you know who does know about these smaller races? Rich people. And that's the reason why they get richer. Because they're like, well, hold on a second. If that doesn't get recorded today, but it gets recorded tomorrow, then I can let so-and-so know, hey, so-and-so, because they know who it is, and the poor people are just like,
Can you point me to some of these rich people? Signs and getting the word out cost a lot of money. Yes. They can't buy any influence. They can't buy any influence with me, but they can help me get my name out to do the job right.
All right, Mr. Evans. You have anything else for Mr. Evans?
No, other than I appreciate you coming on, and I really appreciate you running for this office. A lot of people ignore it, and that's another reason too why we keep getting the same people, is because a lot of good people don't want to run for these type of offices.
I never wanted to run for any
like there's
office,
16 people that ran for governor.
No, there's way more than that.
Well, I mean, but on the Republican side, I'm sure there's a ton. But yeah, and then county recorder. What is county recorder?
They run for a statewide race, and half of them stayed home. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyways,
why do you think people do that? I mean, we had a governor candidate who got 189 votes.
There's a lot of people that run for races, Mr. Evans, just to have a platform, have no intention of winning at all, but just want to have a platform, want to have a voice in politics. That's why they run for it.
Okay.
Or some run because it's ego-driven, and they feel that, oh, my name is going to be in the paper, my name is going to be in the ballot, and it's ego-driven, and that's why they do it.
There's some of that. Okay.
Yeah, so there's some of that as well, but they don't run for the right reasons. It's actually, making their community better than how it was before they even started to run.
You got another 30 or 45 seconds?
Sure.
All right.
I was gonna have Mark zoom in on you, and then you can have some final words. You want to do that?
Whatever.
Mark,
for you guys.
Could you zoom in on Mr. Evans, and then you could say whatever you want, your final words, have people come to the polls and vote for you, why they should vote for you, and your point of contact.
Okay. Cool. You want to find out more information about me, my website is johnevans4recorder.com. Why you should come to the polls and vote for me? Because I believe government exists to serve you. And that's what I'll do in the county recorder's office. And I'll give you one last thing to close with. Home title theft is a real thing. Steve mentioned earlier that people can record things on a property. It's a real crime that criminals go out and record a document that says you sold them your home, and then they steal out the equity of that. There are huge red flags for that. Currently, the county recorder's office does nothing proactively to prevent that. There are red flags there. I worked in the mortgage and real estate industry for 27 years. Know what those flags are. I'll be certain to be proactive in preventing and protecting you from that. I'm John Evans. I'd appreciate your vote.
And did you bring a Toys for Tots?
That's embarrassing. No, I did not.
You believe that, Jim? He didn't bring a Toys for Tots.
I got that in the email invitation.
Mr. Evans, thank you so much for coming to the program.
I will find a Toys for Tots.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Welcome. That's embarrassing.
Folks, that's John Evans, candidate for Clark County Recorder. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas. Until next time.